You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after a 5-0 Braves win over the Yankees. That means yet another series win for this club, and it does appear that the Braves are getting right as they have battled a pair of New York baseball teams, and they have won series against each of them, and once again, have a chance to go for a sweep. First, it was the Mets over the weekend. Now it's the New York Yankees at Truist Park, and the Braves were clicking on all cylinders in each one of these games, including this 5-0 victory behind great pitching from Bryce Elder, and a couple of timely home runs from the Braves offense. That typically is a recipe for a pretty good night at the park. Before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Click that bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. Make sure you click that like button. Comments, always appreciated. Leave those for us. And subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Jake, as I mentioned, the recipe for success was right there for the Braves. And I would say that they were able to turn out something pretty good when it came to facing the Yankees in Game 2 of this 3-game set.
They did, and what a complete 180 it's been for this pitching staff this next time through the rotation. Maybe taking advantage of a couple of teams that are down right now, but still getting the job done, exactly what this Braves team needed.
Yeah, and I think that, you look at what the Mets are doing over the course of the weekend. I mean, that's a team that is a little bit listless, and obviously they've gone through a lot. The Yankees are a 500 club now after losing the first 2 games against the Braves. They've had some highs and lows themselves, but there are some dangerous hitters in this lineup, but the Braves have been able to pretty much navigate around those dangerous hitters, and one of them, of course, being one of the biggest and best sluggers in all of baseball, and Aaron Judge, who has been remarkably quiet in the first 2 games of this series and was once again quiet in this one. It was game number 119 for the Braves, who improved to 77-42 on the year. That is a season-high 35 games over 500 for a team that not too long ago we were talking about kind of scuffling. You're kind of wondering when they were going to get right, when they're going to get their footing again and kind of go on about the business of winning series. Well, I think they've answered that over the past couple. Shutout, 5-0 victory. Yankees just 1 hit, couple of errors for them, 2 men left on base. For the Braves, though, 5 runs on the strength of a couple of home runs, 6 hits, no errors, 9 men left aboard. Bryce Elder, the winner, 9-4. Luis Severino, 2-8, takes the loss. And, you look at this game, and it's one of the fastest games we've played in about the last week as well. 2 hours, 18 minutes. Another sellout crowd at Truist Park, 40,454. A lot to like about this, but I think we got to lead things off with Bryce Elder because I think it's been quite quite a roller coaster. Let's call it that, Jake, over the last 5 or so weeks for this young righty. Such a great first half. Couple of speed bumps, then a couple of good starts, then a couple of speed bumps, and now a good start. And I felt like this might have been one of his best and most efficient outings because even when he ran into some base runners, which were typically by a walk, the Braves defense was able to pick him up. And that kind of has been the trademark of what Bryce Elder has been doing when he's been so successful.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to say vintage Bryce Elder because the guy hasn't been around for that long, but that's what it was in this start. And look, I said it. I thought this would be a tough matchup for him coming in if he pitched the way that he has been here lately. Not able to get the calls on the edges, not getting ahead in counts, but he completely flipped it around in this one and did what he had been doing earlier in the year, getting ahead early in counts and then kind of nibbling on the edges and getting hitters to chase that and get that weak contact that he's so accustomed to getting. 82.1 mile per hour average exit velocity in this game. So not giving up a lot of hard hits in this one. Went back to the slider a lot too, a pitch that was really good for him early in the season, just overly dominant pitch for him. Threw it 41 times in this game, got 9 swings and misses on 23 swings. As a 40% whiff rate, 39 technically percent whiff rate there on that pitch. But this was the Bryce Elder that we were accustomed to seeing earlier in the year, trusting his stuff in the zone, getting ahead. And then, like I said, you can really go back and look at it, especially early in the game, staying on those edges and getting players or hitters to go after that, get the weak contact. So again, love this. This is certainly seems like a start in the right direction for Bryce Elder. Hopefully he can get back on track and continue this.
Yeah, and I know Bryce had talked about it, particularly after the last couple of starts, and I know that one in Pittsburgh where he said, I just feel like I've been like a pitch away from getting out of some of the issues and some of the trouble innings that he's run into, and he doesn't feel like he's been throwing the ball altogether that poorly. It's not like he's gone out there and walked half a dozen guys for 4, 5, 6 starts in a row and tried to figure that out and then given up a couple of 3-run homers. I mean, he has had, pockets of that here and there in some of these bad outings, but this, I think was much more, as you mentioned, exactly what was working so well for Bryce Elder in that first half that had so many people just kind of wondering, how does this guy get it done? Well, you get ahead, then you're able to expand out that zone. And you mentioned that slider. That was a great pitch for him, especially throughout the first half. And maybe some newfound confidence in that will be something that he's able to bring back as he gets himself on track. 7 innings of one hit ball. That, as they say, will play. Shutout, obviously, as the Braves kept the Yankees off the board for all 9 innings. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 94 pitches to get through the 7 innings. And that's another one. Let's circle the innings pitched for Bryce Elder in this one. 7 of those. Certainly helpful as the Braves are in that streak of 14 games in 13 days. They're very much looking forward to that off day. But I know there's been a lot of kind of debate about, well, who's available in the bullpen, who's not, who are they trying to stay away from? That's been a very real thing, especially over the last 5 or 6 days. And even coming out of that doubleheader, they were able to minimize it some there. But this off day is going to mean an awful lot to this bullpen, to this pitching staff, and the starting rotation, as you touched on earlier, Jake. They have really helped turn the tide here in the second half of this very long grind of games.
Very much so, and needed. And I think what's been overlooked in this stretch is the bullpen's been really good. The missing ingredient has obviously been the starting pitching. We know the offense has been there. Bullpen's been great to get the starting pitching coming around. And you get results like this. But again, going back to the start for Bryce Elder, he had the 3 walks. 2 of them were to Aaron Judge, and twice you got a double play right after that. So, I mean, that is just working things perfectly. The other one's to Stanton, who's obviously a very dangerous hitter as well. So I thought those were timely walks, but for the most part in this game, again, I thought he was really under control of all of his pitches.
What's funny about the Judge walks, and Bryce Elder was joking about this. He's like, that guy is so big that for a sinker ball pitcher, like you have to start it so high that where it would break in the zone is a place you do not want to throw a sinker. And if I could think of, not wanting to throw a sinker that doesn't sink to somebody, Aaron Judge is probably the one guy in the lineup, and maybe Stanton second, that you don't want to make a mistake right there with. So I'm with you, and especially being able to pitch with a lead, that helps. And the Braves offense was able to do its part. I think all of that kind of came together, and Bryce Elder clearly felt like he had a good plan and was working with it and was able to get those key ground ball double plays, as you mentioned. A lot of good things happened in this night on the offensive side as well. A couple of big home runs, but the bullpen, you touched on how important they've been. AJ Minter, Kirby Yates able to come in, throw the 8th and 9th respectively, close things out with shutout frames for them. Just a nice job by the Braves pitching staff. We'll get into the Braves offense in just a moment, but I got to tell you about one of our great sponsors. As this episode of the Braves Postcast is brought to you by Ibotta, because if you're finally taking that summer vacation you've been planning, but dreading buying all the necessities before you take off, well, it's time to stop spending your hard-earned money without getting anything in return. It is time for you to turn to Ibotta. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta. Use the code MLB when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and then use that code. Again, it's MLB, and Ibotta is IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Stores. Remember to use the code MLB. Now, the Braves, they used the code HR, as in a home run, to grab a lead in the first inning of this game. We knew coming in after we talked about it last night, Jake. I mean, Luis Severino, he's got incredible stuff. I mean, he has got an electric fastball, a good pitch mix, but he has had a very challenging season and has not been able to do the things that I think the Yankees very much needed out of him this year. He took the loss, drops to 2-8, couple of big home runs, none bigger than Marcell Ozuna, the 2-out, 3-run blast in the first inning. Marcell with a 13-game hitting streak. That was homer number 24 of the year. We touched on this yesterday, but it bears repeating. If you were looking for soft spots in the Braves lineup not long ago, it might have been Marcell Ozuna and Eddie Rosario. But here lately, those two guys, and particularly Ozuna, have picked up the slack.
He has, and 2 more walks in this one. And again, it's kind of what we've been talking about. It's that it's not just the power of Ozuna, which you saw in this game, and that was huge in that first inning, getting that 2-out home run, making sure you get something out of all of that. But again, he's done other things to contribute, taking his walks. He's taken his singles, hitting the ball the other way. It's just been such a turnaround for Marcell Ozuna this year. But what a big home run. Had another hit later in the game as well. So again, can't say enough good things about what he's done to turn things around, and credit to him again after 2 really difficult years, both on and off the field, a struggle out of the gate, to be able to turn it around like this and have the impact that he's had. It's pretty remarkable for him.
No, most definitely is. Let's throw some stats at this 13-game hitting streak. He has 16 hits and 7 walks, so he has reached base quite a bit over the course of all of this. He has also knocked in 11 runs, and he has scored 9 runs over the course of this 13-game hitting streak as well. So he's making it, productive. He's gone deep just twice over that 13-game stretch, but timely and finding his way on base. And he's been in the middle of a lot of rallies for the Braves, and he had the big hit to put Atlanta on top early by that 3-0 score. Home runs and big hits, those are the kind of things you expect out of Ronald Acuña Jr., but we hadn't seen a home run in a minute, but he launched number 27 of the season to straightaway center field. Not quite as far as Ozuna's, but both those things, no doubters for each of those men. Home run number 27 of the year for Ronald. It puts him on pace for 37 bombs if you're interested in that kind of thing. And as you know, I keep a little tracker over there on Twitter/X.com, so make sure you check that out. But it gave the Braves and Bryce Elder some insurance runs, and just great to see Ronald going long ball, because I still feel like with about, 42 games left after tonight, I think, or 43 games, I should say, left after this evening's game, I think there's still the opportunity very much that Ronald Acuña Jr. can make that run on 40 home runs and join the 40, 50, 40, 60, 40, 70 club. We don't know what it's going to be yet, Jake, but that's the excitement of Ronald Acuña Jr.
It is, and it's been one of the more exciting storylines for me all year, because I just think it's one of those rare achievements that you just don't see very often. When you got Matt Olson pushing for 60 home runs as well, it could be a really great achievement for him. But that 40-40 season, again, it's just so rare to see, and so I want to see him get there. But he's obviously going to have to get on a little bit of a home run barrage, which he's capable of doing, and we've seen in the past. So hopefully this is the beginning of that. But yeah, it's just Ronald gets on base a couple of times a night, and now it's not really noteworthy unless he hits a home run or doubles or steals or something, because we're just so used to him getting on base all the time. But good to see him get another home run in the column.
Yeah, and Ronald with these home runs, I mean, obviously this is something he's done, the 40 homers before. It was the stolen bases he couldn't get to go 40-40 back in 2019. But this time around, I think he's got that opportunity he's already got the steals. He's just got to get on one of those runs. And we've seen Ronald in a week, 10 days, reel off 5, 6, 7 home runs. That I think is a very real possibility for him. And if you look at what he's done thus far overall this month, I mean, he's been on base, 32 times already in the first 15 games. So he is setting the table for the heart of the Braves order. 109 runs scored after 2 more that Ronald scored on Tuesday night against the Yankees. It puts him on pace for 148. So if you're wondering who's Matt Olson driving in, well, one of the guys is Ronald Acuña Jr. a whole bunch of times this year. And Olson, by the way, 1 for 3 with a walk and a run scored, stayed in the yard, but just continues to put together a very complete all-around run for him. It's not just boom or bust anymore for Olson. This has been just a tour de force since he moved into the middle of the Braves order, Jake.
It is. It's fun to see. Again, you just have that feeling with him right now when he comes up to the plate. He's going to do something spectacular. You look at him and Ronald both now. Ronald sitting at just at 1,000 OPS. Olson at 1,006. I mean, 2 guys in your lineup OPSing over 1,000 this point in the year is pretty incredible. So, again, those 2 guys, what they're doing, along with, what Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts are doing over with the Dodgers, it's just, 2 incredible players for those 2 teams going at it right now.
Yeah, we might see that tag team battle here later in the month when Freddie and Mookie will welcome Matt Olson and Ronald Acuña Jr. out there to Dodger Stadium for a big series. That's going to be a fun showdown, maybe an October preview. We'll see how that all plays out. I think it's noteworthy Nicky Lopez got to start at second base and somehow didn't get a hit. This guy had some incredible showings in his first couple of starts for the Braves. 0 for 4 today. Vaughn Grissom was called up from AAA Gwinnett. I think he's going to get mixed in here and there. I don't necessarily feel like the job is going to belong to Vaughn Grissom simply just, by coming up and needing to play every day. He's got a lot of time in the minor leagues, obviously, to polish some skills off, but I do think he brings some things that could help this team. So we'll see what matchups and spots Brian Snitker and the Braves want to use him in. And, of course, Ozzie Albies officially placed on the injured list with that strained left hamstring, a 10-day stint. And clearly the Braves are hoping that that's all he's going to miss. But Vaughn Grissom back up and Nicky Lopez getting some time at second base, turning some double plays and looking pretty good doing that. Another note on the Ozuna home run before we look ahead to Wednesday's series finale, 120 first-inning runs now for the Braves. That's the most runs in any inning for any club in Major League Baseball. They also have 35 home runs in the first inning, most home runs in any inning by any club in baseball, and you might sense a theme here. 166 hits, the most hits of any club in any inning in Major League Baseball all year long. Sarah Langs with all of those stats. Of course, we knew about the first inning runs, but the overall dominance the Braves have shown, jumping out to leads and giving their pitchers, a cushion to work with, has been an impressive part of their winning. As I mentioned, they moved a season-high 35 games over 500. Phillies losing to the Toronto Blue Jays by a 2-1 score, and now 12 and a half games back in the NL East. So that lead growing, which means the magic number is starting to shrink. And I think we're going to be dropping down below 30, which I think is about the time, Jake. I don't know about you, but I usually like to start looking at magic number when it creeps on down into the range of about 20 or so.
Yeah, once it gets in the 20s, I think it's pretty noteworthy, especially we're in middle August and you're already in the 20s.
Right.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I will co-sign. That could be a lot of fun. And the Braves, if they continue to win, obviously, pulling days off the calendar for the NL East. And also, clearly we know that, one of the advantages of going into the playoffs with the best record is having home field. And the Braves are still in the driver's seat for that, ahead of the Baltimore Orioles and ahead of the Los Angeles Dodgers as well, as far as that is concerned. We'll talk a little bit about Wednesday's game, but before we do, we got another great sponsor of today's show, and that, of course, is FanDuel. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. And right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl. You'll get those bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Head to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start earning those bonus bets with America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get in on that action. Braves back in action on Wednesday, Game 3 against the New York Yankees. It's right-hander Charlie Morton on the mound, a starter yet to be determined for the Yankees. But for Charlie, he was able to grit his way through a 5-inning outing against the Mets. There were 7 walks in that game for Morton, just 3 hits allowed. He kept the Mets off the board. I know he'd like to cut down on those walks, but maybe that was at least some step in the right direction for Charlie, and he'll be able to build off of that and really put together a start that he would very much like to see, a quality start this time out against the Yankees as the Braves go for the sweep.
Obviously, love to see those walks come down. That's part of Charlie's game. He's going to walk a few batters, whenever he pitches, but he has such good stuff to kind of overcome that. 12th shutout of the year for the Braves on a Tuesday night. Charlie Morton has started the majority of those shutouts. He started 4 of them. So hopefully we get another one on Wednesday. Charlie continue to kind of get back on a roll here, cut down on those walks.
Yeah, Charlie last started one of those in the first game out of the first half for the Braves, I believe, or actually, I guess maybe the Mets one was. So even recently here in the second half. So prior to the 5 innings of 7 walks, which doesn't feel like it should be a shutout, but it was, he's done it a couple times here in the second half. But that start against the White Sox coming out of the All-Star break, that was kind of the last time that we saw Charlie really clicking on all cylinders. He has been battling, trying to find, I think, his release point for both the fastball and the curveball. Just mechanically, maybe trying to tweak a couple things, but looking for some consistency. And that would go a long way towards helping him get that quality start if he's able to make those adjustments. He's 11-10 on the year, 3.71 ERA. It's Charlie Morton on the mound against the Yankees in the finale of the series on Wednesday, 7:20 p.m. Eastern time is the first pitch at Truist Park. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast. As always, we appreciate you riding along with us. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves, Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube, Locked On Braves, wherever you get your podcast. Make sure that you like this video, leave us a comment, share it with a friend. We appreciate all of those things, and we look forward to talking with you again very soon. Once again, your final score, 5-0 Braves over the Yankees. It secures the series win. Atlanta goes for a sweep on Wednesday. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. We will catch you next time, and until then, so long, everyone.